Assalamu alaikum. Peace. This is Nyla, Coach Nyla.
Assalamu alaikum, peace. It's Fatimah, Coach Fatimah, and here
Co-wives and co-founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships.com. Outstanding Personal Relationships and all that other good stuff. So, welcome to our Sunday Live. So, make sure you guys are letting us know where you guys are watching from, where you're chiming in from, all that other good stuff. And make sure you share. We're going to give you some time to get on, give some other people time to get on. And so share to your group, share to Facebook. Sharing is caring. So, make sure you guys are doing that. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you click that bell for notifications when we go live, and make sure you are subscribed. All right.
leave us a comment.
Yeah, leave some comments. Like, comment, subscribe, all that other good stuff. So, today we are going to talk about connecting or fulfillment through connection. Fulfillment through connection. Try to say it like 10 times fast.
Which is a deeper connection.
Yeah, deeper connection. Probably be easier for you guys to say than it was for me because I kind of got tongue-tied with that. But yeah, so we're going to talk about that. This is our last week on the theme of connecting. So if you guys have not seen the other lives we did, make sure you are going to our YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed so you can get those notifications. Right. So so you guys will know what we were talking about all through the month on connecting. This time we're going to finish it up with connecting or fulfillment through connection, because connecting is serious. It's a big deal. It's a big
huge deal
when it comes to relationships. It's a big deal. And I think that, it's not even that I think that, I know that we are, in order to be fulfilled, and it's crazy because it just put a meme up this morning about fulfillment through connection, and about even the most introverted introvert wants to connect in some way, shape, or form. We are human.
Right.
We have feelings, we have emotions, we have, we want to connect in some way, shape, or form. And if you want success coming to this world, you didn't get here by yourself.
Right.
So, we need each other. Two people have to connect. So connection is, it's the way the world works. It's the way of the world. And I know right now, as of this live, we are going through a pandemic. And there's talking about social distancing, and they're talking about this other stuff. But just because you practice social distancing does not mean you have to disconnect. Doesn't mean you have to disconnect from others. Doesn't mean you have to disconnect from yourself. Does not mean you have to disconnect from society. There's many different ways, and you can be fulfilled in connecting with other people. Not only connecting with other people, but connecting with yourself. First and foremost, not even just first and foremost, because I say connect with your creator first and foremost. That's, how we operate. So that fulfillment is there, and it keeps you grounded. Like me, that checks me. Being grounded in Islam, being connected to Islam, it checks me. It checks me in being connecting better with other people as well. Because I may not want to connect in a certain way. I may be, I might have an attitude. I may have some issues. I may have some stuff. But
somebody else might have
one, and then I'm like, you know what? What do I do? And how am I going to present myself as my best self? So, like I said, that connecting with my creator keeps me grounded, keeps me focused, also keeps me fulfilled. Also connecting with myself helps me connect better with other people. What say you?
Well, I think it's also important, especially now we're feeling super disconnected because people on the news media are saying disconnect. And we can find ourselves disconnecting with the people that are in the house with us. Because we keep hearing all day. And it's good to check out the chat. When they have these news medias going and everything on social media, it's good to disconnect from those things. You can reconnect with the things that actually really, really matter to you most. And maybe this is a time to pause and find some ways to connect with the people that are in your home, or, for us, we live close to each other. We can connect in the places that allow us to, even if it's at the store, you can have a good conversation at the store, depending on how long you're there. But it's so important, I think, what you said about connecting with the creator, because if you connect with him first, then other people will benefit from that. Because that's the healthiest relationship you're going to ever have.
So I know that there are a lot of questions that we get. And most times you can really see the answer from a question just basically on how it's phrased. So what I want to do is really just go into some of these different types of questions. So for example, what does disconnection look like? What does fulfillment through connection look like? Let's define some of these terms so we can recognize it. Because sometimes just talking in theory or just talking on a higher level, we know what connection is to us, but what does it actually look like in our lives? Okay, so what you say?
I think when we check in on each other and the other person is seeing that you're actually checking in on them, can I give them some type of service? Do they need me? Like we do that all the time when we run errands, or if one of us is out, we make sure to check and see, do you need anything while I'm out? Are you okay? If you're not feeling well, checking in just, I think verbally and maybe through a text, a very quick text or something like that really matters a lot. You never know if somebody's having a rough day, and your text on, how are you feeling? Do you need anything? Goes a long way. And I think as women, sometimes, I have thought we look at men as being strong and they don't need anybody really check in on them or ask them how they're doing or if they need anything. I don't care if it's a cup of tea. Sometimes we buy into this thing that, they don't need anything. They're fine. They're men. They don't need a break. They don't need help with anything. It could be the littlest, smallest thing. And Muslims, we know the blessing in giving someone else something or offering a service to them or showing them that you care is extra, but there's much blessing in it. So even if you hand them a glass of cold water, there's so much care in quenching somebody else's thirst or, helping them, like help take care of each other. Like I love doing that. And I know you're big on that.
Yeah.
Take care of everybody.
Yeah, connection to me, and I guess in, the lives is looking at, we talked about love languages and we talked about love last month, and it's looking at it, connecting to the other person, connecting with the other person. Connecting to me, when I try to connect with other people, I connect by seeing what the other person wants, just like Coach Fatimah was talking about, seeing what the other person needs. However, I'm learning that just because I connect that way don't mean that other people connect in the way that I may want to, that I may show myself as connecting with them, so to speak. Like I will go and say, I've done these things. This is in my mind, not telling the other person this, but I will do certain things because this is the way that I like to connect. This is the way that I like to show a person that I care. However, one thing about connecting is listening to the other person, observing the other person, observing what they like, and actually listening to those things, asking questions, finding a way, because there are different ways to connect. You have the connecting verbally, which is not just words, connecting in a physical way, which could be cuddling and nuzzling, or just a touch on the shoulder, nuzzling. The nose, yeah. So those type of things, hand on the shoulder. I mess with our boys sometimes because they love Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse. And it was one scene in there when the uncle taught him the hand or the shoulder touch. He called it the shoulder touch. He said, touch the girl on the shoulder, like, hey. And so that's kind of our thing. I'll touch the boys on the shoulder. I'm like, hey. So it's, it's all about just, so you got the physical connection. And sometimes when people, they had this thing about lying, about if a person touched them when they asked a question, the person was like less likely to lie. because they felt like, I don't know if they felt some type of connection or whatever, and they didn't want to lie to them. So it's just different things like that. So I take that, and I do feel that in my life. I feel that, if a person, or, like my kids, our kids, they like to hug. We all hug, so we hug, each other. After we pray, we have this after salat recharge that we call it. And it's a good feeling, and I know that I love it so much, because if there's a time when I can't pray, which is, pray when I'm in my menses and things like that and can't pray, if I don't get a hug, I feel left out. I feel like it's a disconnect there. I'm disconnected from the family. I'm like, yay, what about me? So, it's these different things. So that's kind of how some of, the connection and disconnect shows up. And
So you don't get hugs when you can't pray?
no, sometimes the kids will forget. I do, but sometimes they'll forget. Like, they'll do their own thing and run and do their own little thing. Like, oh, hey, what about my hug? Not all of them, but the little ones sometimes.
The usual suspects.
Right.
So you're not around, basically.
Yeah, like if I'm not always around. So.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, cool. Well, walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For those who have given us salam, Sales Abdul Hamid Hassan, Ajamu, Sister Celeste, Sophia. Where you chiming in from? What state? What country? We already have a question from Brittany. We'll get to that shortly, inshallah. Sister Zaina, representing, giving salams. Where you chiming in from, sisters, brothers? All right. So connection. One of the ways many of us learn is really by opposites. My idea of connection, one of the easiest ways to describe it for me is, at least, it's the opposite of friction. When you think of a magnet, the ends that come together that bind, or links that bind, versus the ones that are weak, or the sides of the magnet that repel. Okay, or there's less friction. I mean, we connected, we good. Whether it's someone personally, or just someone you're getting to know or may know. It's funny. Many times we have connection, or we project ourselves or our feelings or our beliefs on people we have total strangers. So there may be celebrities you can relate to. There may be people, male-wise, let's say it's maybe a Will Smith in a certain movie, or Denzel, or The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson, whatever. So it may be people you can relate to, or I can relate to more than others, or have a certain connection. That's one of the challenges in our lives, is many times to disconnect from ourselves and see things from more than our perspective. So if we can just disconnect and look down on a situation ourselves, like if we were in a situation and we saw it on TV, then we can disconnect, because that's somebody on TV. That's not real life. Though we project ourselves and our feelings and our different things in different movies or entertainment or what have you. So we develop these different emotions. So there's the connections and disconnections that kind of goes up and down with different people you love, people you can't stand, whatever it may be. You may disagree with the president, which any intelligent person will probably do, that we currently have right now. But on certain things, it might make sense. It might be hard for you, but if you're objective enough to say, this policy, this thing right here, actually kind of makes sense, even though I don't like the person. Okay, so for me, it's the opposite of friction. So sometimes I can understand better when looking at the opposite. And it doesn't mean that just because you have some friction at a certain time that won't necessarily fizzle out and you go back to having a connection. So that's kind of the little ins and outs, actually having a good connection. How can you demonstrate, or what does it look like on both ends? Because you need at least two.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that look like?
That looks like peace. When it comes down,
Peace.
when I look at it, to me, it's peace. And I can have anxiety at times. I don't, when it's when it's friction, when there's drama, and I can actually feel it in the air. So whether it's from Coach Nazir and I, when it's from the kids, and when it's from anybody, I can feel the energy. That's what I call it. So I feel the energy. And if the energy is negative, to me, that causes anxiety, and it doesn't cause peace, and it's not happiness. And so that's the disconnect for me. But when it's peace there, when it's some calm, when you can communicate, when words aren't jumbled. And here's the thing: what I mean by words aren't jumbled. sometimes when it's friction, when it's some, I'm trying to think of a word other than friction, but when it's like misunderstandings or it's some problems or challenges in a relationship, things sound different to the person. Like you could say something that's not a hot button or anything like that, but because the person is already upset, it would skyrocket into something that's not even, that shouldn't have went there. So I always say it goes from 0 to 100. You're like, why did that happen? How did we even get into this place? But it could have been something that somebody was already upset about, and that disconnect wasn't there. So just one little thing could have sparked something else. So the one thing is that when it comes to connection, like I said, is peace. But how do you have that peace when it could be some issues there? One of the things is to be observant. That's one of the things, one tip I would give, be observant, because you can feel or you can sense and see negative energy when it's an issue. When we talked about communication earlier this month and connecting through communication, we said make sure you pay attention to the signs, pay attention to the cues. It may not always be the right time to say something or talk about something, right? And then ask about how a person is feeling, and then say what, can we visit this later, or whatever the case may be, or say, is there anything I can do, or is there anything that I can try to be helpful. Even here's my thing. I got a tip too, or what I do. I'm not saying everybody should do this, but I have this thing that two people can't be upset at the same time. We can't be upset at the same time. And yes, that's me kind of, what is the word? That's me taking one for the team, I guess I should say. And because this is the type of person I am, that if two people are upset, I'm like, I feel this certain way. However, we're going to talk about how I'm feeling later. How are you? What's going on with you? How are you feeling? How can I help you feel better? Mm-hmm. But I do want it to be known that I have some issues as well. But yeah, that's kind of one of the things. Two people can't be upset at the same time because you can't listen to each other.
Right, that's a rule.
That fire is there.
Good stuff.
For me, it's a little bit different. Maybe the same, but a little bit different. I connect with people when they are accountable. We're both accountable on how we treat each other. It's not just one-sided where I'm mentally bowing down to what this person wants, and they're not seeing my side, or I'm not seeing their side of things. And I think timing in which we communicate or talk to each other is a big thing too. If it's something that don't need to be said right then, don't say it. Shelve that mug, say it later. So the accountability part, because it shows a vulnerability that, okay, I'm understanding of how you feel about something, and you're understanding about how I feel about something, and we're both accountable for that. Not just I'm the one always saying sorry, or the other person is the one always saying sorry. If you're not saying sorry at all, then it's an issue with the ego. If you can see the wrong in what you've done, because sometimes we'll do stuff and we don't even realize we're doing anything to the other person until they say, hey, this is how I feel, this is how you made me feel, or I don't know if that was your intention, but this is what I got out of it. So it's about accountability and vulnerability for me personally. I just want it to be reciprocated with my children, with Coach Nazir, with my co-wife. It's like fighting for the same thing, but in a different way, possibly because we have different personality types. But I pride myself on being good at connecting with people, and I'm real good at disconnecting with people. So I'm trying to, it's like creating that really healthy balance between the two things and extracting your ego from those things.
All right. For me, I think the first step really is awareness, because as Coach Nyla and Coach Fatimah just stated, when they say my type, I'm the type of person. We're talking really more about personality types, and we shared that in the past, which is very important. One is awareness for me, because my personality type and how I behave, demonstrating that this personality type, again, is about 85, 90% accurate, is I can disconnect from things emotionally relatively quickly, because emotional part is not my strong point, okay? But it's more of the logical side of things. So it's almost like a math equation. So I can say, okay, well, step one was this, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that led to this, and that's why I'm here. So you don't see step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay, so first step is awareness. Now, notice I said you don't see, because I have to make sure that it wasn't me. Because I have to be able to disconnect, look at me, and also recognize, one, I'm a man. So if I'm talking about in my marriages, I need to make sure that I'm not utilizing the same normal function just as dealing with other men. Okay, I'm dealing with my wives. I know there's love, there's compassion, there's respect, there's all of these different things, but we might have some friction on some issue where we're not connecting, all right, in communication wise. So me, I'm usually a direct person. So as I'm talking to you, then my voice may go up and down and smiling and stuff. I don't normally just go around, hey, everybody. That's not my personality type. So I may be busy and engulfed in something and say, all right, cool, can you do such and such? And it doesn't come off right because it's a tonality, it's just direct to the point, and so on. But I have to be aware of that. I'm more aware of that now. And if you would like me to become more aware of it, I don't think they should just be like, hey, you should really become more aware of such and such. Because I'm like, all I did was say such and such without emotion, right to the point. You follow me? See that disconnect. So the first step is really awareness. One, because the challenge and issue could actually be you. But as Coach Fatimah talking about with ego, that could be a problem. All right, so there have to be some rules and different things in place for those whom you love. If you don't love them, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't, that doesn't mean go be disrespectful, but it just means you don't have a connection with somebody anyway. So it really doesn't matter in general, unless it's something that you want to cultivate and work toward connection and something like that. So the first step, of course, is awareness. The second step is trying to make rules for yourself or have certain triggers that help you deal with it. So like Coach Nyla talked about, all right, I have a rule that we both can't be upset at the same time. Which to me, that's a weird rule. It works good, but it's a weird rule to me because I'm like, you're two different individuals. They have your own emotions, but my personality, I don't like friction. So sometimes I just let some stuff slide and just be like, whatever, it'll come back around. Okay. And stuff will just, iron itself out. They may come to the recognition of that, or I might come to the recognition of that, or whatever. So it's a weird rule, but it works. But if you make up rules to be able to deal with things, then you can move faster. And that's important. Many times we have to slow down to speed up. So one is awareness, looking at yourself, evaluating something, and letting the person know it's okay to have whatever emotion you want to have. I'm not the kind of person to be like, well, how do you feel? Because feeling can lead you all the way astray. When they say love is blind or you can't see because you're blinded by these different things, many times our emotions will lead us astray. But if we fall back from that, utilize our prefrontal cortex, which is developed when you're over 25 years old, then you could evaluate a lot more, become balanced. Because again, as Coach Nyla spoke earlier, if you're all into your emotions, you're upset at something, at that time, you're easier to tick off. You easy to go different ways. And of course, as Muslims, we know Shaitan is always trying to play games no matter what. So one is to be level-headed and have that self-awareness. So we will respond to some people that are in different spots first before you respond, because I see you ready to talk on that. But what is respond to Salam to Nada? Yeah, you want to read it? Shout out where they from and stuff like that. Keep looking down.
Naira. Brittany, Knoxville, Tennessee, Imani of Milwaukee. Angela, assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam, Knoxville, Tennessee. Unresolved issues.
Tennessee in the house.
Okay. That's what that is. All right. Nope. Okay. Latoya, hey. John Johnson and a couple other people, I think, but you guys go, come on. Oh, okay, here we go. Zaina, walaikum assalam. Zaina gave us salam. So yes, that's absolutely a point, and Shaitan is always brewing. Indeed. Just so sane. A'udhu billah is my go-to. It's a go-to. Yeah, my go-to dua. Even when it's extremely hard. Okay, yes, Zaina. Seriously, when I'm feeling upset, or if I'm, you know what? I'm like,
and making the words.
Yeah, making the. But I'm just like right in that moment, if I know that I'm feeling heated, as I said, I'm a very anxious person. Like I have anxiety when these anxiety issues, And I just think because I feel so much, it's a lot of stuff like that. And it's been like that since I was a kid. I'm finding out now. My mom is telling me that I had these things when I was younger. I wish you would tell me that before. But these things,
keeping stuff from us.
right. So I feel these things, and if I start to feel this fire or this tightness in my chest, I would be like, girl, yes, that's so true. Okay,
Yeah,
so real
that's
quick, I
real.
want to comment on my weird way because I don't want people to get it twisted, because sometimes people are like, well, that sounds like abuse, and it's not like an abuser type of relationship. So let me get some people together with that. And I'm just being real, because it's not about that. My thing is, I know how to express myself for the most part when I'm feeling upset, when I'm upset. But my thing is, it's not that I say I'm not upset anymore. My thing is that I control, my anger or control anything that I have going on, because I do have a lot of things going on. And sometimes it could just be an emotional thing. I could be feeling emotional at that point in time. Sometimes we may need to take a step back. Sometimes we may need to chill out. Sometimes we may need to take a soak and chillax for a second. And then we realize that it's not even that serious. So, that's something, get it together, let you guys know about it. But my thing is, when I say can't be mad at the same time, meaning that I want peace in my household. And I know that if it's some anger issues going on there, I got to find out what's wrong and what's going on. And if it's a possible way to simmer the fire or, smother the heat. And then, even if it's just taking a break for a second or going into a different room or reading something or whatever, and that goes with the kids and everything. Kids know. I have to get away from them for a minute. And I do this, and I allow that. And that's the same rules that I have with the children as well. This is not just between the adults in the family. This also goes for the children, because I was in a household where people weren't talking, because they were mad at each other. And I don't like the way that feels. And I've never wanted my children to feel that way. So my thing is, get it together, check it, so the kids could grow up with some type of sense.
Indeed. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. I'm in Ilyas in North Carolina. And Kimberly Williams. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Good stuff. Welcome. Now, good stuff. All right. Just going back and forth real quick. Oh, as a side note, not really a side note, just quickly, just to let you know, today we are actually about 20 or so minutes away from going live with our Relationship Mastery Inner Circle members. So if you are not an RMIC member, why not? We go a lot deeper. You get to get your worksheets, you get to download your audios, you get direct connection with us, also a coaching session. If you want more information on that, outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/RM, you'll be able to join today and even get our previous months as well with our membership. So that goes deeper. And if you have not already joined us on our YouTube channel, where sometimes we've been having some issues the last couple of weeks when it comes to like Facebook or IG to the side, if it goes over an hour and so on, feel free to go to our channels, Outstanding Personal Relationships. Pretty much easy. I mean, search that in YouTube, you'll find us. Subscribe there. If you're watching on YouTube right now and you haven't liked the video, like it. If you like it, hit the notification bell. So just connect with us, connect with us, get some connection. I know it's a different type, but I'm just saying. All right, so that's that point there. So we're going to go into some questions here for like the next maybe 10 or so minutes before we get ready to serve our RMIC members. So any questions? Let me look. I'm going to be looking through the comments. So good stuff. Anything to say? Communicate on. It's recording.
It's escaped me.
Brittany, you had a question. I don't see it anymore for some reason. Brittany on Facebook, if you're still here. You had a question that you mentioned, but I can't scroll to find it. So if you could repost it, if you didn't delete it or something, that'd be great. I'm just talking about some de-escalation strategies, or a good de-escalation strategy. So what is our go-to thing? Because we really, this month with a lot of different things going on, nationwide, internationally, we didn't get into some of the things we want to talk about when it comes to arguing. All right, and connection. So let's talk about arguing and what we do to minimize effects or argue fairly or what have you.
The art of arguing.
Yep, let's talk about that because again, we go deeper with our RMIC members and so on. But let's talk about a couple of different things that we do when it comes to arguing because we don't like arguing, period. So
Yeah, but sometimes the disagreements come, and we are not alike. No, we're anyway, whatever. We're not the same. So anyway, but first and foremost, be respectful. I know sometimes, when it comes to arguing, a lot of it comes with a person having the feeling that they are not being heard, they are not being understood. But when you are speaking with a loved one, sometimes you gotta look at it a little differently, and you still want to be heard. You still want to be validated or understood. And I know people got their own things about what validation means, but for the sake of meaning to be understood, that's what we're talking about. So the thing is that be fair. Be fair. Don't be disrespectful. A lot of times I've seen a number of couples. I grew up with watching different couples hit below the belt because they were mad, because they said this person hurt me, so I'm going to hurt them back. That you are in a relationship to love each other, to protect each other, to be there for each other. So you got enough outside issues to fight. You don't need to fight each other. So that's one of the main things I would say is be respectful. How do you argue fairly if you were to be in an argument or find yourself in a disagreement or a spirited debate? Make sure that you are being respectful. You want them to be respectful to you. You're going to be respectful to them. Even if you feel that they are being disrespectful, it's a way to respond in a respectful way. And sometimes if it gets too heated, I'm a type of person, I just shut up. That's what I do. I stop talking because I'm like, we're not hearing each other. If I'm fussing at you, you fussing at me, no one's hearing the other person. So I stop talking. I'm like, we're going to visit this some other time. And that's how that goes.
Well, for me, that's a big thing for me too. I'd rather not argue with you. What I do is create distance, and I'm a very creative person in everything that I do, in my way my house looks, the way I wear my identity on the outside and not always on the inside. It's all in there, but I wear it like a shield around me oftentimes. But if I get upset, I'll create space and then I go draw, color, make something look pretty. And that's my therapy. Like I have to release it in a different way. So if I know I don't have my words that I need to say where I'm not lashing you with my words, because I can go there. If I feel like someone has come for me in my F, because I'm an ENFP. So my feelings are at the forefront. So if I feel as though someone hurt my feelings, I leave the chat. I go somewhere else. I create a distance because I want to be able to not be putting myself in these positions to say, you know what, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. I want to be able to think and decompress and calm myself down. Like I have to self-soothe almost like a baby. Like leave the baby alone, let the baby self-soothe. Baby will quit going off. So I think it's really good. And if we allow the other person to say, okay, I need a time out, or I need a rest, or I need a break from this, so that you don't just keep going and going and going and going. And it feels like you're hitting a wall. I like to enter back into a conversation when my thoughts are more logical versus emotional. And that means space.
all right.
He knows.
Now there's a couple questions coming in on this. One is, how do you prevent yourself from shutting down without disrespect?
Okay, here's the thing. Disrespect is going to look different to different people. I realize that.
Yes.
But you know what you wouldn't want, a person to do to you. So that's kind of the rule of thumb in a way. you don't want a person, I mean, you wouldn't want a person treating you a particular type of way. So kind of, what do they say? Do unto others. You know,
Real talk.
So that type of thing where it's like, you know what? I know that I don't want a person yelling at me. So I'm not going to yell, but you have to be logical. And sometimes, like I stated before, when it comes to arguing, when it comes to an argument or anything like that, a lot of it it's an emotional thing. It starts with, or it heats up with emotion. When you're able to take a break, but you said, how do you do it without, what you say, shut down. She does.
How do you prevent yourself from shutting down
without being disrespectful? You know what? This is the thing. You know, because I don't want to say anything that I will regret, because I don't want to say anything that you may deem disrespectful, I think we should revisit this conversation later. Or I need to calm down because right now I'm getting heated. Speak your piece, but speak it in a respectful way.
And agree to it. Agree to the shutdown.
Oh, yeah.
At that moment, agree to it. Otherwise, it'll keep flaming out. There's not some, I have yet to come across a way where there's just some, okay, that's great. We'll just come back to it at the moment. Otherwise, it'd be deaded at that point. Either way it goes. But the sister does ask questions. She says, well, she tries to communicate. And her husband says he doesn't want to argue. It really bothers her because when he wants to address an issue, he addresses it, period. Sometimes I feel like he has the final say and I want to respect him, then I shut down.
Yeah, girl. Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
I'm gonna let you.
No, because I learned that this recently about the I don't want to argue, and that upsets me. I don't like that phrase. I hate that phrase.
Because she wants to argue.
Because because I was a debater. I was a great debater. No,
Forensics.
I was in forensics. So the thing is this: is that this is what I do. I write a letter. Yeah, that's how I do that. I don't want to argue. Okay, fine. But I still have my feelings that I want to get out. And I write those feelings out and I write that letter out, and it depends. I'll let it sit for a second. If I still feel those feelings later that is in that letter is being given to whoever. So, and that's pretty much the deal, because it's not about being disrespectful. It is still about, speaking your piece. And then sometimes it is the way, the communication goes. Sometimes you can take it, and sometimes as women, we take the verbal part a lot more or better than a man does, because they'll zone out because we talk a lot. So the thing is that, but they will read, because they'll be all on Facebook and on the text and on different stuff and reading blogs and different things like
paragraphs.
that. So certain things like that, maybe it's a way, find a different way to communicate, but still be able to communicate your emotions out. Get your emotions out there, or your feelings out there, or even your thoughts, because it's not always feelings. It could be feelings that, but it's still some logical things within those feelings. So I would suggest possibly trying this, writing out how you feel or what you were thinking.
Yeah.
Set it to the side for a second, or, and calm down, reread it, because I've done that before. I've had texts that have never been sent because I've done that before. And, reread it. If I'm not feeling that way still, it gets thrown away, burned up, or whatever the case, deleted, or whatever the case may be. If I still feel that way, it's being given to the person.
I like to Coach Nyla's point about writing letters. I don't write letters, but I think it's effective. I say what I got to say and then I'm bounced. But it's good because when you do this, there's no interruption. And with reading, there's no interruption. There's no back and forth. You 100% will not argue if you write a letter within the reading of it. So I think oftentimes when men read to that point, when they can read and read and read, they're reading and reading and reading because there's no interruption. there's no issue that's going to come up within it. So letter writing is good. I used to do that. I found that it doesn't necessarily work for me, so I abandoned that. But in retrospect, I think when you do it in this way, where you write it and keep it, because I write it and ship it to you, it's bam on the desk, it's just there. I think that's good, because then you can see if you still feel that way later on, and if you don't, shred it.
It caused more issues than
Right.
good.
Right.
All right, to both of their points, I agree that writing it, thinking about it, being able to reflect on it, choosing your words wisely, even like Zaina has mentioned to Kimberly on the chat and YouTube, it's important to be able to express yourself without interruption, without having to receive a lash of words that have fire and heat on them to keep going to the next level. Because for me, I don't prefer, none of us prefer arguing, but some drag it on to that going far. All right. The whole arguments the next day, I'm arguing about something 3 days ago, people forgot about it, and you live in life. Life goes on. You know what I'm saying? One of the statements I really liked by one of my mentors was that yesterday ended last night. Okay. Yesterday ended last night. We're not going to drag anything on further. That's one of the rules. That's a rule for me, at least. Yesterday ended last night. We here now, moving forward. And if you're going to be moving forward in something, just like when you're driving a vehicle, no matter what vehicle it may be, you driving. The windshield is in front of you. Your rearview mirror is real small because you ain't supposed to be driving using that thing. You know what I'm saying? It's small for a reason. That's when you're going backwards for the short amount of time, but you need to go forward and focus on that. All right, that's very important. Now, that doesn't mean you don't get the lessons from the past. That's extremely important as well. But I find that writing is effective. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, we have some of the best advice. One, if you're standing, sit down. Get into a position where you can't release that much energy easily. So if you're standing up, you can already feel it. You can garner more energy, everything else. Sit down. And sit down, lay down. The advice from Prophet. All right, make wudu. Pray to Raka'a. All right, try to really, and do it sincerely. Try to get, and make sure you have khushu, not just you doing it so the other person see you doing it, and then you try, that's a form of riba. You don't want to be that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just important to know and make sure, one, self-awareness. You know what? I probably could be wrong, or I can handle it better, even if I'm not wrong. Or let the other person get time to cool off. Or is this even worth even discussing or talking about? One of the things I talk about is mortality motivation. Is that, okay, we would be arguing right now if I was sick in the hospital with a ventilator from COVID-19 or something. So if you ain't willing to argue with me in that type of situation, what's the point of really having it now? Let's just get to the point, squash it, move forward, or apologize, and so we can live life. Our life is made out of bits of time. All right. And that's really it. It's made out of small bits of time. And the sooner we can move forward and better and choosing to be, showing some self-efficacy, meaning we have that power behind it, then you can live life on a higher level. So that's important to me when it comes to, those are just rules I set for myself, but it's better to be able to communicate with those whom you love in an intimate relationship with your family. All right, when I'm doing this, or I'm focused here, or I'm upset about these certain things, don't approach me at this time, or find the best way to approach me at this time. That's me. This is what I like you to do for me. I don't want to get weighed down with 18-hour conversations or going back. And another rule is, if we disagree on something, we need to disagree and discuss what's happening now. Don't bring something from last week, last year, other people's opinions. We need to talk about now what the rules are regarding this situation, because that's fighting unfair. Because we could always go back into the past, into different situations, circumstances, bring something in where you may have been clearly wrong, or didn't know, or it's vague, or you don't remember. So you don't have the ability to bring something from the past into this situation, because those emotions have already left you. So again, being on point with whatever this situation is, so we can resolve this situation. And in general, that's a man thing. That's a logic thing. I'm not going to argue if we have a disagreement about some shoes or whatever. I'm not going to bring in the fur coat from 3 years ago, or something was left at the dry cleaner. That's not going to be advantageous to the situation. That just drags on the unnecessariness of an argument and being in that place. Why waste 5 hours of emotion being mad and upset and going through this type of stuff when you could utilize it for better moving forward and being closer? You're not going to look back at your life and talk about, man, I'm so happy. I was so upset for those 4 hours that day and da-da-da. If you're not going to be happy about that, then do something about it now. Be more proactive about it. Have some foresight to recognize, okay, I'm in this ditch right now in this situation, something I didn't like that's going on. Either I'm going to ignore it, the stuff is going to pass, or I need to be more aware. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe it wasn't. Should I write a letter about something? Should I revisit another time? You know, we're doing all this self-evaluation as part of self-awareness and then move forward. That's called adulting. That's called maturity. All right. And I may not like to do something, or I may not like the person the way that they want to receive it, but I can humble myself enough to go ahead and accommodate that because I love this person loves me. We have the same goals. We just disagree on something. And I don't think there's anybody living on the planet that you're going to agree with 100%, not even yourself. So if you know that you made wrong decisions, stuff in the past, but now you know better, you don't even agree with yourself 100% of the time. So how can we expect to be able to easily just get along with someone else 100% of the time, other than having some self-awareness and being able to bend and to move? So prayerfully, that helped out. I know we have to, I'll look for maybe one more question, but prayerfully, we have to start our relationship mastery inner circle course, our membership in just a few moments. So that's what we're going to be doing. And if you don't know about it, can you give them the website address?
Make sure you go and visit us if you want more information and you want to sign up. Go to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/RM for relationship mastery. So yeah, we meet every month live for our RMIC members. We go deep into the stuff that we talk about here, but we go deeper into it, and we give you worksheets and just cool little what is it? I think
You get the audios, the downloads, and the communication,
some
the
tools.
coaching, and everything else.
Yeah, different things that you guys can get for that.
And if you're not on the email list, feel free, outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. We got some free goodies and stuff from there, but we are going to have to wrap up. Definitely appreciate you being with us today. Again, connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, what have you. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you. Remember that a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. So, peace.
Peace.